Hi, second grade. Welcome to week 6 of math with me, Miss Stone. This week we're going to keep our trend of looking at coins up, and our objective is I can find and record the total value for money amounts greater than $1. And even though we're doing money amounts greater than $1, we're still only focusing on coins. Looking back at our coin chart, we remember that we have pennies, nickels, dimes, and quarters. Pennies are worth 1 cent. They have smooth edges, and on the back it is a building, and they are a medium size. Our next coin is a nickel. It is silver. It is worth 5 cents. It is also smooth around the outside. It is a medium-sized coin, and it has a building on the back of it. For the dime, it is silver. It is worth 10 cents. It is not smooth around the outside, so it does have ridges. And on the back, it is a torch and 2 plants, and it is small. For the quarter, it is silver. It is worth 25 cents. It is not smooth on the outside, so it does have ridges. And on the back is a bald eagle, and it is the biggest of the coins. So just like last week, we're going to focus this week on working on a problem that is a word problem. We're going to do this for a couple of reasons. One, we want to make sure that we're hitting our standard of being able to find and record the total value for money that is amounts that are greater than $1 in terms of coins, but we also want to go back and look at how we're going to go step by step and show our addition with regrouping to make sure that when we are finding amounts greater than $1, we're adding and making it as easy as possible for ourselves. Here we see the word problem we are going to be working on. It is Jasmine wants to buy a notebook that costs $1.50. She has 4 quarters, 2 dimes, and 1 nickel. Can she buy the notebook? Okay, so our step 1 is we're going to start with 1 coin at a time to figure out if she has enough to buy the notebook, if she has enough money to buy the notebook. In the word problem, we read that she has 4 quarters, 2 dimes, and 1 nickel. So we're going to start with the first quarter. To the first quarter, I'm going to add the second quarter. So I'm adding the first 2 coins together. I'm going to write out my addition problem by putting the first 2 coins, which were quarters, and adding them together. So I have 25 plus 25. And I'm going to write out my addition problem because when it comes to regrouping, this is going to be the easiest way to write it and represent it. So we always start in the ones place, and then we move over to the tens place. So we start in the ones and we add 5 plus 5, which is 10. And we know that because it is 10, I have to move the 1 over here. Because the 1 does not represent 1, it is in the tens place, so it represents a 10. So I put the 1 here. Then I add 1 plus 2. 1 plus 2 equals 3. Then I add 3 plus 2, and I get 5. So I find out that when I add 25 plus 25, my answer is 50. Our next coin after the first 2 quarters was another quarter, so we add 25 to 50. So it's 50 plus 25. We start in the ones place and we add 0 plus 5, which is 5. And 5 plus 2, which is 7. So we find out that when we add 50 plus 25, we get 75 cents. So we're right, 75 plus 25. We know that 5 plus 5, when we start in the ones, we know that 5 plus 5 is 10. So we put the 0 under the ones place. We put a 1 over the 7 to represent a 10, which means we have 1 plus 7, which equals 8. And 8 plus 2, which equals 10. And this time we do not have to regroup or trade it. We can just keep the 10 at the bottom, which means that our answer is 100 or $1. All right, so now that we have found 100, we move on to our 5th coin, which is a dime. That means we need to add 10 to 100. To make sure that we're keeping in mind place value with our now triple digit addition, we're looking at the hundreds, the tens, and the ones. This one's pretty easy, even though it's a bigger number. All we have to do is start in the ones. We start with 0 plus 0, which we know is 0. Move to the tens, which is 0 plus 1, which equals 1. and then therefore, because we're just adding 10, it has a 0 in the hundreds place, so it's just 1 plus 0, which equals 110. Now we move on to our next coin, which is a dime, so we're going to add 10 to 110. So once again, we start in the ones place. 0 plus 0 equals 0. 1 plus 1 equals 2. And then 1 plus 0 equals 1. So altogether we have 120. So now we have made it to our last coin. Our last coin is a nickel, so we add 5 to 120. We start in the ones place. 0 plus 5 is 5. 2 plus 0 is 2. 1 plus 0 is 1. So our final answer is 125. And we're talking about money. We're going to look at two ways you can represent amounts of coins that are over $1. So for the top one, 125, we can write this as 125 cents. All we have to do is add the cent sign to the end of it to show that we have 125 cents, which we do. The second way to do it is we can show it in dollar form. And with dollar form, it's important because we're going to add something called a decimal point. We're going to add a decimal point after the 1 because the 1 represents $1, and after it is 25 cents. So it separates it. And we have to remember when we do dollar form, we have to add our dollar sign. So $1.25. And we use the decimal point to separate the dollar from the cents. The above is 125 cents. Great job with taking that step by step and adding to the coins. So now we remember that we were looking at a word problem, and we're looking at a word problem about Jasmine, and she wants to buy a notebook that costs $1.50. So now we are going to look and see how much the notebook costs compared to how much we have. So we see that the notebook costs $1.50 and we have $1.25 or 125 cents. So our question was, if Jasmine wants to buy a notebook that costs $1.50, and now knowing that we have $1.25, is Jasmine able to buy the notebook? So now we know that she can't because she only has $1.25. So she is short and will not be able to purchase the notebook, and therefore we have found our answer. Great job. So we have successfully gone and we can find and record the total value for money amounts greater than $1. We also broke down the addition process for when we actually do add the money into easier steps. And I think if we keep in mind place value and use our chart separating the hundreds, tens, and the ones, it's going to make it a lot easier for us to add, and we're going to feel less overwhelmed. So just because we're doing triple digit addition and doing all of these different things does not mean that we are not capable of doing so and we are not good at it. So if we keep that in mind, we're going to do a great job.